My name is Optimus Prime. We are autonomous robotic organisms, but you can call us Autobots.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
I want you to rest well, and a month from now, this Hollywood picture is going to give you what you want. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Inside Your Screen podcast, bite-size edition. With our main podcast, we're going to have bite-size edition, which will be looking into bite-sized chunks or programs that are coming out, gaming tidbits and information, and everything else in between. So, proving that God has a sense of humor, we've got Brendan Horgan with us. Hello, Brendan.
Hello, Tony. How are you today?
I'm not too bad, sir. I'm not too bad at all. So we just literally played a little game on the PlayStation there. That will be up fairly soon. How did you find the delivery service game?
The delivery service game was what's it actually called?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. I think it's called Bring in your delivery service. Your service is good. It's really not a good game.
So,
but
does that not say all you need to know about it? Nah, to be completely honest, it was kind of shit. But there's no way I could play the game on my own. But playing with you, it was kind of fun. But again, I think that's more the social aspect of it, and kind of it's 100% a game that has to be played with a group of friends.
Yeah,
just having a laugh and kind of messing around with it. We didn't really take it too seriously. And we kind of
it's a very multiplayer sort of game, a party game that you play with people, like the kind of Mario Party type of games that you get, just with less controlling and glitches. We experienced a few glitches.
Yeah, loads of glitches.
So, Brendan, we're here to talk about Killing Eve. The first episode has aired on BBC, and second episode will be out fairly shortly. But it's really just to get your kind of opinions on what you thought of Killing Eve, the first episode, Series 3. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if anyone hasn't seen it yet, we would recommend that you go online or watch from your TV, watch Killing Eve, the first episode, and then come back to us. Have you come back to us? Great. Now we can spoil it for you. So, Brendan, give me your thoughts, your opinions. How did you feel the first episode went down?
I think overall I enjoyed it. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I'd read a few kind of reviews from some of the American press who have seen the whole season, and I know it's kind of got mixed reviews. I didn't think the second season lived up in any shape or form to the first season, but it was still very good. But I was a little bit pessimistic going in, and I was pleasantly surprised by the first episode. There's a nice, I thought I really enjoyed the ending of the episode, which we can go into in a little bit later. But the shock at the end of the episode, I really enjoyed. I like the fact that they gave a little bit more of a backstory for Villanelle. They kind of, lurked into some of her training, and they kind of introduced a new character there as well. I'm not sure what that character is called. I've got kind of the set list there.
Oh, the kind of Russian...
Dasha, I think was
Dasha, yeah.
Dasha. So she's obviously must be one of the trainees of the spies, and they kind of showed, a scene of her as a ballet dancer at the start.
Well, I'll be honest. I'm going to get into this pretty hardcore sort of thing. I wasn't a big fan of the first episode.
Okay.
Here's my thing. So the second series ended with Villanelle, played by jodiecomer, sort of thing, shooting her sort of love interest /
arch
enemy nemesis type person. It's that kind of weird, dynamic going on that's kept, everyone engrossed with the actual program. If you get a protagonist and antagonist that can always kind of, respect each other or have a bit of a love interest whilst also at the same time trying to do their own thing, great, fantastic. And that's what Killing Eve really captures. It really captures the two of them going about their own business. So Sandraoh's character, Eve, is basically working for MI6, and her task is to take her down. Villanelle's characteristic is she's an assassin. She She's really narcissistic. She's basically a sociopath. So when the two come together, worlds will collide. What happens when you meet an unstoppable force with an unmovable object? That's the kind of premise. And that's been working out so well so far. But the second series really came to a head when she was shot, Eve was shot, left on the floor. And when this third series is coming about that Eve is going to be alive.
Well, I think that's a kind of ongoing issue with loads of TV shows. When if you're the bottom line, and I agree with you, but we knew before the last episode of season 2 that they'd already commissioned series 3. Yeah. So if you're going to leave a series on a cliffhanger, that one of the main two characters, in fact, the character that the show is named after, is dead, then they've already messed. I agree with that flaw.
Well, that's my point.
Episode one. We're talking about the new series.
Yeah. So this is going back into episode 1. So we pick up. I think it's like 6 months later or something like that. I can't remember if there's actually like a title card. But so Eve is now working as a kind of like a sous chef in a kind of Chinese restaurant. Villanelle is about to be married to someone, some rich Spanish woman. And basically, for me personally, it seemed like a lot of filler in terms of we already know these characters now. So we know that, Villanelle is, she's kind of maybe out of the game a little bit. She's wanting to settle down, but you can tell in the first instance that that's not really a life for her. With Eve, she's kind of going about this humdrum existence. But it just kind of took too long to actually get to where we needed to go. So Carolyn,
first episode, Tony, I see what you're saying there, but in the same sense, I would disagree with all of those points, because I'd say for a first episode of a new season where they did leave with the cliffhanger and they have played off the whole 6 months later, they do need to fill in some of the gaps.
I get that.
They need to introduce, they need to ease you back in. Again, I wasn't, and I'll go into it in a little bit, but I wasn't overly happy with some of the gap filling that they did, and I agree. But you do need to kind of set the stall. They've gone, it's much like many a movie or TV show, 6 months later. So what's been going on? What's happened? At the start of the episode, we don't see Eve. So it's that kind of, it's the setting of the scene for the whole of the series to go forward.
Right. And so my point here is that the most interesting character for me was Caroline, played by Fiona Shaw, who's like the MI6, the main operator in that respect. I think she was given a lot more to do in this first episode than she probably was given in the last 2 series. And I know that kind of leads up to the kind of dramatic ending. But I really love her character. I think she's always been this really dry-witted sort of character. My problem with it maybe, I know that some will reckon that the show has kind of gone off the boil because it's no longer scripted by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who did Fleabag. And it kind of shows. And that's my point. I think season 3 so far, and I know it's only the first episode, so I'm hoping to be disappointed by this, but so far to me, season 3 seems to be a kind of emulation of what's gone on before. Does that make sense?
It's almost a reset. You have to start the story
over. No. I'm not going to say reset. I'm going to say it's an emulation, and that's a different thing. What I think's happened is so for example, yes, we know
an emulation of itself.
Yeah, basically, because in the first series of Villanelle was like this very, very dry, very black humor sort of character. She could be speaking to a small child in a hospital ward, for example, like in series 2, and then kill that person without a hesitation. In this one, she kills a Spanish grocery owner. She flings her off a ladder.
You're totally missing the whole opening scene and the kind of the total Villanelle attitude of that wedding scene.
No, I'm not at all. That's what I mean. No. This is reinforcing my point.
I really enjoyed that wedding scene.
No, I didn't. I thought it was weak. I thought it was very weak.
Did you not find it funny?
No. That's my point. I didn't find it funny at all.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I did actually enjoy that. I liked that.
What did you enjoy about it?
I liked the comedic aspect they went. Like you said, you said the things you're missing about Villanelle. They were there. That's exactly how she played out that scene. You kind of watch that scene of the wedding scene, and she's treating her wife like shit. She's treating the day like it's just like meh. She's all dressed in black. You know, she's kind of playing the man in the relationship and all that. But it's the fact it just turns into utter chaos, a big food fight. It introduced the new character, the Dasher character, who I thought is a really cool character. I found that opening scene really funny. I thought I quite enjoyed it, and I thought it was a really good kind of like Villanelle's kind of, you know, okay, it may not have been the ruthless murder, but it was just the kind of her kind of abruptness and kind of attitude at her.
No, listen, I mean, like, listen, this is my point. I think, like, yeah, I agree with you. Like, she, you know, the bit where she's giving a speech and she's talking more about her ex-girlfriend and like saying like, oh, I'm glad she's dead now. Yeah, did that raise a chuckle? Not so much. It raised a wry smirk from me, but it didn't like. And then the whole like food fighting bit at the end, I just thought it was a bit farcical. I thought it was a bit too much than what we've become to be expected of that character. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, we find out, as you said, like Dasha, who's now this Moscow. Is she like a Russian style gymnast? Who we have a bit of a backstory to her, like back in the 80s. She's trying to do some kind of, Olympic game style training.
The bars.
And she basically is a very brutal character. We see her later on that she was one of Villanelle's, trainers, if you will. And we're reintroduced to other characters like Kenny, who's Caroline's son. We're reintroduced to Villanelle's handler, whose name I completely forget off the top of my head. Constantine, yes. Constantine. So we're reintroduced to all these characters. For me, it sags in the middle. There's a lot of kind of busy work in terms of like Steve Pemberton's character. I love Steve Pemberton. If you've seen Inside Number 9, League of Gentlemen, I think his introduction into the series will be something that's going to, skyrocket this a little bit. I hope so.
He'll be Caroline's antagonist the whole way through.
Yeah. And I love the kind of jibes that they have each other.
Yeah. That scene, the scene
good.
the scene in the canteen was very funny.
Yeah. And then we kind of we find Eve's ex. Were they married? I can't remember now actually if they were married or not, or just boyfriend and girlfriend.
I think they were married. Yeah.
Yeah. He's in a kind of like nursing home, obviously because of all the trauma that he experienced from season 2. And well, let's just get into it. So Kenny now has left MI6. He doesn't work for his mother anymore. He's now working for like a kind of journalistic tabloid.
An online. He's working for a website.
But he's sort of trying to lead a normal life, but he's also researching into potential
the 11,
the syndicate sort of thing that's going on. And essentially, I mean, if you want to step in, Brendan, with anything else that maybe I've missed up, I just wanted to get straight to the kind of end, really, basically.
But this is where I'm like the filler stuff as well. And you understand the filler stuff. I think you're talking about is maybe the stuff with Eve. But it's, again, if you think about it from start to finish, and I'm not saying this is a perfect episode by any stretch, but it's a good first episode, because you have to fill in those gaps, but they have that gradual kind of, Eve is, as you said, hiding away from the world is the real story about it. She's working in a kitchen, in a restaurant. She's spending the whole time in her flat. She doesn't like coming out. She's very nervous. They also showed that she was shot by Villanelle in the last season. They kind of showed the scar, and obviously they kind of touch into that.
Listen, I mean, I get that. I get that completely.
The backlash, but they also introduced the new wave of the 11, where they're now after. How is it introduced? Obviously, like you mentioned, Kenny is investigating the 11. He kind of meets back up with Eve. He mentions to Eve, I've been doing investigations on them. I'm still looking into them. And then the end of the kind of episode, which I think was a brilliant ending, was Eve kind of agrees to meet Kenny for lunch or something. So she says, "Come down to the office.
Some drinks, yeah.
We'll go for some drinks after I've finished in the office." Eve turns up. The next thing is Kenny's not there, and long and short of it, Kenny's thrown off the roof of the building, and Kenny's dead. And Eve it's obviously the 11 or agents of the 11, and we kind of end the episode of Eve is in the building. She's kind of in fact no, Eve is in his office and she sees Kenny's body drop down past the window. She runs out, she sees Kenny's body, and we kind of end the episode of, oh God, the guys who threw him off the roof are still here. And we kind of
this is all right. Here's Brennan. This is my crux of why I didn't like this episode, and this is why I didn't like the facts.
That ending. It went from it got a straight back now, where now what Sandraoh's character Eve, who's hiding away, she's scared of the world. She now has a reason to get back.
Yeah, and I think that's bullshit. That's why I'm calling this out. I'm putting my hand down firmly on the bullshit buzzer. This is why I don't like it. To use Kenny, who's like, we've known him for the first 2 series, a really likable character, someone who's actually grown on a lot of the viewers throughout the 2 episodes, to like just literally use him as a narrative aspect for Eve to get back in the game.
Not necessarily. Hold on.
Yes,
not necessarily. It is. Yes, it is. But also, here's a bottom line as well. His mum, Carolyn, I think you're going to see a complete turn of her character as well, because if you look at the kind of if you look at the characters who are kind of working in, is it MI5 or MI6?
I think it's MI6, yeah.
MI6. In MI6, your Eve, your Carolyn's, your Kenny's. You had Nico, and was it not Nico? Nico's the husband, but I forget. But they were all very, even though these guys are in essence investigating the Russian mafia. They're all very nonchalant about it. It's all very humorous. It's all very, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's look at the humorous side of it. Carolyn is supposed to be this really important figure in MI5, who in essence can kind of give the green light on killing. We're looking at that scale. She's at that level of things where they can green light an assassination from the British side or whatever it may be. She's almost like a comedic character. This isn't going to be Eve just getting back into the game. I'm genuinely more interested in how Carolyn's character now.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Well, obviously, because
already goes off the book, which is something they start. That was part of this episode where they've covered the 6 months that have gone by, and Carolyn's there with her boss, and she's like, "You broke this rule. Who authorized this? Who authorized that? Now that Kenny's dead, I think we're going to have some complete James Bond or Jason Bourne style off the record.
Oh yeah, I'd love her to go off like the reservation completely.
Yeah.
But once again, this was like, the setup for her character, Caroline's character, is that she's been reprimanded, she's been chastised for all the kind of stuff that went on down, all the things that went down in series 2. So already you've got this kind of power play that she's not going to be able to kind of officially take on the kind of mantle. She'll probably get reprimanded to a point where she'll be demoted and whatnot, and in any kind of like cool 80s style film where it's like hand in your badge or you've got 24 hours to catch the person, it's going to be that kind of thing, and I hope it is, because I would like that kind of essence to kind of come into Killing Eve. And I 100% agree with you, that will be Caroline's motivation. Her son's been killed, she has these resources, she's not allowed to use these resources, so she's going to go. Yeah.
I hope she goes badass. I really do. I hope she just goes.
She's already a badass character, so I think she's going to go like level 11 badass now, sort of thing. And I can't wait for that. Like I would love to see Fiona Shaw with like a machine gun, going crazy on people. That would be awesome for me. And even her, all right, here's the question: do you think it was Villanelle that threw Kenny off the building, or do you think it was someone else that's going to become like a thing later on?
No, I don't think it was Villanelle that threw Kenny off the building.
No, I don't think so either.
No. I think this was the 11. I think this was the 11 who kind of, and hence why you're going to...
Do you think it was Steve Pemberton's character?
Steve Pemberton?
Yeah, the guy in the canteen.
No. No.
You don't think he'd be like a double agent? Because wasn't he away? Wasn't he like away somewhere? It was in the foreign treasury or something like that, and he's now come back suddenly.
Oh, you're going in a little bit early with the conspiracy. I like it.
Got to go early in the conspiracy theories, man. You gotta present these things.
Yeah, I like your conspiracy. But yeah, overall, I kind of, obviously, I do disagree with you. I quite enjoyed it. Again, it wasn't an amazing episode. I didn't overly like the way that they covered Eve's back. She got shot in the back and she survived. That's it. Well,
yeah, there was a throwaway line. Yeah. Oh, glad those tourists turned up when they did. Yeah. It was like, really? Come on, man. Yeah,
That's probably my overriding kind of like disappointment, where they just covered her being shot and left for dead, like just, oh, phew, thanks.
Yeah, I tell you what,
I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was a good comeback episode.
My fear is that they're going to make Villanelle a caricature of her sort of self. That's my fear. And I could see it kind of happening in the first episode, where, i.e., like with the wedding scene, like where she goes, rah, and she goes, rugby attacking someone to the floor and stuff.
If you go back and watch season 1, she was doing that stuff in season 1. It was just the character was new. The character was new to you.
It's true, but it was also dark as well. And that's my thing. I think they're losing the darkness of this character, because anytime you are introduced to a character, you need to empathize with them, right? The viewer needs to empathize with Villanelle in order to like her. And it's the whole point of what they're trying to sort of say is like, you need to like this character, but also she could snap your neck. And I think they're going to be losing that somewhat. I think they're going to make her more of a caricature of a person than the actual assassin, cold-blooded, narcissistic sociopath is what she's meant to be. And that's my kind of final point on it, sort of thing. So final thoughts, Brendan. Where do you see episode 2 going?
I'm intrigued by it. I'm intrigued where they start. I really hope they just start where they left off. I'll be really pissed off if they play with timelines and it's like they cut and they don't cover what happens to Eve. So I have no clue, but I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so we'll be back with Killing Eve Series 3, Episode 2 shortly. And let us know your thoughts. If you think Villanelle is still a badass, then let us know in the comments below. You can catch us on Twitter at Inside Your Screen.
Can I just quickly say, which we don't say enough, it's on Twitter we couldn't fit our full name in. So if you're searching us on Twitter, even if you search Inside Your Screen as it is as 3 words, you will find us, but it's actually at Inside UR Screen.
We're going the urban Grimes way.
Yeah,
your screen.
Inside your screen.
How do you say that over a podcast? How do you go inside your screen?
We just say inside. We say inside your screen because if you search inside your screen, we're number 1.
All right, guys. So yeah, you can also catch us on Instagram, and website will be up soon. But we've got a YouTube channel, Inside Your Screen. Check out all the videos and all the kind of podcasts that we're doing here now. I hate doing this kind of bullshit, ring the bell, all that kind of stuff. But ring the bell, whatever.
Yeah, ring the bell, subscribe.
Or don't. You don't have to. You don't.
No, do sign up for the notifications.
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Because it means you won't miss a step in the journey inside your screen.
That was a level of bullshit that I even couldn't do myself, Brendan.
I know.
It was good.
The cheese is falling off the ceiling.
The cheese is so potent, I can smell it from here. Inside your